Hello, my ordinary angler. Welcome to the Ordinary Angler YouTube channel. This is Mike Quattrone, and glad you stopped by. We got a brand new series of videos coming out. This particular video is going to pertain to our young folks. And for parents or grandparents that don't know much about fishing, well, we're going to inform you on what to do and some very simple basic baits and very simple basic things to teach your grandchildren or your sons and daughters how to fish. Initially, this is going to be for them. If you're more in tune and know what's going on in these respects, this video probably isn't for you, but you can watch it anyway and maybe share it with somebody who might enjoy it anyway. Also, I'm going to those who like, subscribe, comment on their son, daughter, grandson, granddaughter. I'm going to give away 2 Zebco Platinum 33 reels, 1-to-1 fella and 1-to-1 gal, young lady or one young man, and hopefully they'll get some enjoyment out of it and start their fishing career as we all did. And so we're going to start with basically a simple knot, some simple pond lures that I used as when I first was a young man fishing in ponds, and that's primary, you know, where a lot of the young folks, they don't have boats or whatever, so we all used to go to ponds and fish, even ponds we weren't even supposed to fish. Oops, I didn't say that, but anyway, that's kind of funny. But anyway, we're so get ready, sit back, enjoy, and like, subscribe, and comment. And there'll be information on my email where you can email me information, and we can work back and forth if you are selected to win one of these reels. One lucky girl and one lucky boy, under 12 preferably. That's what I'm shooting for. So no purchase necessary, no nothing, just doing that to give back to our young folks, because fishing is a great thing. It's a great thing to do, you know, if you want to put food on the table, for that matter, you know. So anyway, here we go with the information, and hang in there, we're fixing to start. All right, as you can see, basic fishing with ponds to deal with. We're going to deal with some lures, some areas, some knots, and let's get into it. All right, first, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to introduce you to the Palomar knot, okay? Very simple knot. Very easy. Here's a hook. I'm using this yellow braided line so it's easier to tell as you go through the eye. Okay, you make a loop. You're going to go back through the eye like so. Okay, see how we got this now? Now notice I got the extra line. You're going to loop over, okay? And you're going to bring either the bait or the hook make sure that loop gets over and snug it down. And that is called the Palomar knot. You can trim it all the way down to the knot and it'll be just fine. But you can use that knot on everything you want to use and it would be just dandy. So with that said, that is the Palomar knot. I have another knot that I use since I was a kid that I've always used, and this is an extra wide gap. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now I could go into several, there are like buku amounts of knots, okay? Buku's knots. Me, if I'm in a hurry on the water a lot of times, I usually will tie a Palomar. But here we go. This is just one I use. You're going to go through the eye, right? And then I'm going to go around 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After 5 times, I go through the eye and back through the loop, like so. Snugging it down as we go. Snugging that, pulling that snug. Now, I believe it's the trilene knot, has you go through this eye twice and do the same thing. But that's a quick knot. I'd go through 5. My dad taught me that when I was a kid. I've used it ever since. I think it's a perfectly fine knot. Definitely like using it on braided line. It gets a little interesting if you'd rather use a Palomar knot for heavier line. I think it's a little simpler, but a lot of times you need to just take it, put it in your mouth, wet the line with a little bit of spit, okay? It cuts down on the friction, especially if it's monofilament or fluorocarbon, okay? It's a perfectly good knot. All right. So now we've got some knot stuff done. All right, we'll move on. All right. I'll just go ahead and go right into some lures right off the bat that are very effective in ponds. They'll catch crappie, they'll catch brim, large brim, or bass. But we're going to be dealing with a little bit leaning toward the bass because now let's just see. We're going to go out. Let me just tell you, your youngin's going to want to catch fish because it's going to take a lot. So, a hook, a small hook, okay, tied with that knot, okay, and a float, and live bait, whether it's minnows or crickets, are very effective. And we'll get in the times and years and locations on a pond are very, very good. Now, the first bait I'm going to show you is called a beetle spin. Now, when you move up into the bigger world, this is a Johnson beetle spin, okay? All these baits you can buy at Academy Sports. You can order them off Bass Pro. You can get them on Amazon, all that. It's a nice little spinner. It's very effective. I caught my first 3-pound bass in a pond on this very bait, okay? It catches crappie, it catches bass, it catches large bluegill or brim. It's a very effective bait. Like, to me, there's 2 colors. There's white, okay, And then there's the black version. So you have kind of a dingy water situation where the fish might need to see a little better, or something white and black. Both work very well. Now, this is a great little bait. This is a bait I used growing up. I actually found the color. It's called a jitterbug, and it's a top water bait, and it's very effective bait, especially I think in ponds. Ponds are very effective bait. You can order them and you can get them through any bait shop. This is one of my favorite colors. It's just a good all-around color. They make a lot of noise and you'll catch a lot of bass on it, and it's very effective bait. And thirdly, now these are the 3 top baits for ponds I would use. This is called a Mepps spinner. You will see it. Let me show you. Mepps came out of this package. Mepps. Okay. This is a number 3, as you can see on the blade. That is a number 3. I can't even believe I found it, to be honest. I had to order it. But it's a Mepps Aguila number 3 with a yellow tail. I can't even begin to tell you the amount of fish that I have caught on this particular bait in ponds. That, and there's a white version and a bucktail version. And Mepps make excellent spinners that you can catch bass, crappie, and you can upsize or downsize on it, because they have various sizes, just like rooster tails. And that's another product you can use, rooster tails. They're very effective at catching. As far as catching brim or large bluegill, a black rooster tail with a gold blade like this is very effective. It's a smaller bait and requires a spin cast reel like a Zebco 202, 33 or whatever. And I'll get one of the reels out to show you what we're talking about as far as a reel for your kids. But there you go. Now, finally, let's move on to soft plastics, and I'll show you just some basic stuff on that. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Now, I'm just going to show you, this is an offset hook. Okay, like we were trying on here. I'm using a large size to make you understand this hook. You see that offset hook. Now, of course, when you're fishing, when you're fishing with plastic baits, there are several to use. Primarily, I'm going to just say with a plastic worm, because that's usually what I use growing up, and usually I use them in ponds. Okay, so what we're going to do is, I'm not sponsored by Zoom, but Zoom makes some of the best plastic baits on the market. So, like what I tell my other angler friends and whatever, I'm not going to support things on my channel that I do not use myself or think are good products. So here we go. Now, here's the trick. I'm using this because it's big and thick, and it gives you an idea. This is a weedless bait. Okay, weedless bait. Alright, so let me show you. You see the top of the worm, and you see this flat side? You're going to take this hook and you're going to go right in the top, just about 1/4 of an inch, and you're going to come right out there. Okay, then you're going to slide that worm all the way up that hook. Okay, and then you're going to rotate it around and slide it right on up and cover that knot. Okay. All right, so you're like that, right? So you see how that hook, you see how the hook is, that's how you, where you want to go. So you look at, see that bend in that hook, you're going to want to go right there, and you're going to want to come right straight up through that worm till it's like that. Okay, now I can push my, right there, I can push right here and feel the point of that hook right there. And that's what you want to do. You want to let that hook come through. Now, there's another, I'll give you, this is the basic version, okay? This is just for simplicity. All right. Now, this bait, this bait's a heavy bait. But what you're also going to do is you're going to put, you can put a weight on it, and I'm fixing to show you how that goes, and what's called a bobber stop. All right, so we'll get back at it, and let me go ahead and do that. So back to where we were. This is a slip sinker. Okay, it's a slip sinker. They make them out of lead and they make them out of tungsten. You see the holes in the end, and it's all the way through. Now, just so you know, you're going to put, before you tie this on, you're going to slide. You're going to do two things. You're going to have the ability to peg it, which means that not allow the slip sinker to slide up and down. So even I, in the initial phases of things, did not understand how in the world I was going to do this. So this is called a bobber stop. You see the bobbers. Now you see that there is a loop on that bobber stop. You see the loop? I'm turning it, and see. So you're going to bring your line through the bobber stop. Okay. Now you're going to take that little bobber stop. You can take the little bobber stop, and you're going to push it through onto that line. Okay. Now you run it all the way up. Guess what? And then pull your line out of that loop. Now you have what's called a bobber stop. Okay. Now you can slide that up and down your line. Okay. Now, after you do that, now this is so you can fish soft plastics in a pond. You're going to take the line, and you're going to take this, and you're going to put the slip sinker on. So on goes the slip sinker, right? Now notice the slip sinker doesn't go by the bobber stop. Okay. Now, all we have to do then is grab a hook. Go ahead and grab another hook. This is a good hook, by the way, made by owner. The big boys know. So just we'll do the Palomar knot again. We'll go. I'm going to go through the eye of the hook, making sure you have enough line. Back through the eye. So we're like so. So you notice how I've got the. Make sure you grab that there. Then we're just going to go over, back through like so, and then we're going to bring the hook through there, and we're going to pull it tight. Make sure you get that loop over the eye. Now we're set, right? And we're going to take our scissors and you can cut this real short. Okay, now through the magic of YouTube you can replay. Now see, we've got our slip sinker on there, we've got our bobber stop on there. Now I'm going to slide the bobber stop down to the slip sinker. Now I could go into various ways of fishing soft plastics, but this is just basic stuff to fish in a pond. You're not tournament bass fishermen yet. Hopefully maybe one day you'll grow up and you can take these things that you've learned, and that's the finished product. So you see, you have the hook, the weight, and the stopper. Okay? Anyhow, now that is your, and going back, that is your weedless presentation. This is your weedless version of your plastic worm. So, just hold on. I'll just show you a few other pieces of plastic baits. Just here we go. Now notice, okay, I'm using larger baits. This is a Zoom old monster. It's just a big, huge plastic worm. But you won't need that size in a pond. You know, you can throw it. You might even get a lot of bites, big bites on it, okay? But they make them in smaller 6 inch, 7.5, 10 inch, and 12 inch sizes, okay? And you may want to use them. And this is a imitation bait. This is from Missile. This is mimicking a crawfish. This is a beaver style bait. Okay, it's a very good effective bait. And just like that, you take it and look here we go. You're going to go right in. You can turn it on its side, go in just a little bit, right? And you're going to come out right in the middle. Notice it's in the middle. You're going to slide that bait up. Notice where the hook can be. So you want to take that hook, come straight through. And on these particular baits, you might want to skin, what's called skin it back, which means you're going to kind of put that hook up under them ribs a little bit. Okay, it's still weedless and straight, but when that fish hits that bait, it's going to, that hook is going to expose. Okay, all right, y'all with me? Nice bait, very effective for punching through grass and stuff like that. Plus it depends, it's mimicking a crawfish. Okay, all right, now we're gonna, let me go get one more very effective bait, which is probably one of the most effective baits, because bass can't stand it on a certain time of year. Bobber stops, like I said, they're very cheap. You can buy them by the buku, and they're really good. Jitterbug top water, these are basics. This is called a MEP spinner, and it's called, for another word, it's called an inline spinner, and the number 3 tells you the size. Now finally, we're going to get to the number 1 springtime bait, especially in ponds or lakes or just all over if you're fishing for bass, okay? And that is a lizard, okay? It's a very effective bait throughout the year, and it can be fished several different ways. And this rig is called, by the way, this rig is called the Texas rig. Okay, the Texas rig consists of a hook, a slip sinker, a peg or a bobber stop, and then a soft plastic lure. Now we'll just take this off and we'll show you how to do the same thing with a lizard. I take the lizard. Now you see, this is the rounds. You see the eyes on the lizard in the mold. See the little dinky eyes? That tells you it's the top of the bait. Okay? Now you're going to take that. You're going to go right in the top of the bait, just a little bit, and come out right there. Okay? Now you're going to slide that bait up, and then you rotate it around. Yep. And here we go again, same thing. You see where this, now no matter whether this is a 5/0 hook, which is a big hook, which for purposes, but you can see the path that hook needs to sit. Okay, so right there tells you that mark or that hook needs to go. Okay, now I can feel that little barb right there. Okay, you see? Now you got a straight weedless bait. Weedless. Okay? And so when that fish bites down on that hook comes through that soft plastic, and you'll feel them take it and run with it, and you just rear back and enjoy the moment. Because I've enjoyed many of them. Plus there are other techniques to do, like using dyes on the tails and whatnot, but we won't get into that. But this is just a lizard, 6-inch zoom lizard. Okay, it's a very, very effective bait in the spring, and that is your Texas rigged lizard. Okay, and that should help you catch a lot of fish in a pond over the period of the year. So there you go. There's your small repertoire of baits. Now let's get a look at these baits that you're going to possibly win. Okay, I'm going to open one of them so I can show you. There's two reels. This is the Zebco 33. It's a very popular reel. It's a very nice one. Just take it out of the sack so you can see. There you have your drag. You have line already pre-spooled on it. You do have the capability of switching sides if you're left or right-handed, which is nice. It has infinite anti-reverse, which means this reel is going to stop wherever you stop it. You're going to push you push the line and it comes on out when you cast it, and when you reel it, wherever you stop that line, of course the drag isn't locked in yet. Let's go ahead and do that. There we go. There's a little bit. Your drag, okay, for everyone to know, is is the ability of the line to be pulled out of the reel. In other words, if you have a big fish on, okay, and you have your drag loose, it'll keep you from breaking your line, keep the fish from breaking you off. So he can, as long as he's strong enough, he can pull it, but then you can just start reeling back in, okay? All right. That is the Zebco 33 Platinum reel. And if your grandfather or grandmother or father or mother put your name in the hat, one lucky person, one guy, one young man, and one young lady will have this mailed to them. Just wanted to show you what I got and give you, it's a nice, very nice reel. All metal gears, no plastic. All right, that's your Zebco 33. I'll put it back in. Okay, now we're going to get into a little bit of pond education and where you might need to be. Okay, so we're going to draw a pond. All right, and we'll just call this the levee. Okay. Now, just so you understand, there will be vegetation all along pond banks. Weeds, laydowns, trees, and out here there might be a brush pile underwater. Okay, now then, spring. Now we'll say this is 5 foot, a 5 foot line. And this is up against the levee, is going to be deep water, okay? Let's just say 15 feet. And it runs along this here. 15 feet. So, you got lily pads or grass. Springtime is shallow. Think shallow. All right. Now then, fish are going to be trying to spawn in the spring. So if you're at a pond, you're going to be wanting to look at, and initially this vegetation isn't going to be there. It may be dead vegetation depending on what part of the country you're in, or it may be green vegetation. But anyhow, so if you're fishing from the bank and it's springtime, you need to concentrate on the shallow areas. All right, mom and dad and grandma and grandpa, shallow areas, fishing from the bank, you need to work the shallow areas, the shallow end of the pond, okay? And sooner or later, at some point, depending on the year, you're gonna have bluegill bluegill, which are going to come up shallow, and they make beds, bluegill brim beds, in that shallow water. And there are circles. You'll even see them circle where they're spawning. And that could be anywhere, just as a basic thing. But also, what follows the bluegill? Bass. Why? The bass eat the bluegill. Yep, the bass eat the bluegill, and so especially now, what does a bass not like? A bass does not like a bluegill to come in the bass bed, and the bass make beds too, where they spawn. That's where that lizard comes in. That's where some of them the plastic worms and stuff comes in when the bass are guarding their babies in the springtime. Okay, so that kind of gives you areas, and of course you're going to want to fish around laydowns with the worm or baits that don't get hung up. Makes it real easy. Now that's springtime. Now, as we get toward winter time, these fish pull out in these ponds. Back off to, let's just say this is like a point that comes out here in the pond. They pull out to these into these points toward the fall and then the winter. And then the winter time, these fish may be out here on this brush pile. Now, crappie, if you have crappie, they're going to like brush piles. They're going to like laydowns. Crappie. Crappie are going to like all this kind of stuff. These laydowns. A lot of ponds, some ponds have crappie, some ponds don't have crappie. But they're live minnows, little jigs, and we can go in on that too. But like I said, today I was just concentrating on someone wanting to go out and catch some bass. You can catch brim on the small rooster tail. You can catch crappie on the beetle spins. You can catch all three species on the beetle spin: bluegill, bass, crappie. Okay, so now that just so when you approach a pond, this is the kind of thing. Spring, you have to think of the time of year. The time of year. Okay? Real important. Know what's going on with the fish. Okay? Now that you've seen my jumbled up pond, remember this: crappie, bass, bluegill. Well, bluegill, or in the south, brim. Okay. Springtime, prime time. Fall, fall of the year, another prime time for fishing. That's what you got to remember. What month of it, how cold it is. We won't get into a lot of other things, but these are basic things. Okay? Bass eat bluegill. Bluegill eat bass eggs. Lizards like to eat bass eggs. Why lizards are not tolerated by bass at certain times of year. They really hate them because they know what the deal is. All right, so this has been a small class. I hope you enjoyed it. Hey, you ordinary anglers, here's the deal. Okay, this is just for the beginners. I'm going to be doing several more parts, and we're going to talk about spinner baits. We're going to talk about crankbaits. We're going to go into some more soft plastic stuff. We're going to talk about topwater baits and jerk baits. These are the several different categories of bass fishing. Once you've learned the basics of this, the way fish relate, times of year, how they approach when they spawn, how they approach when they leave the shallows, which some actually never leave. Some spawn in deeper water, some migrate up and down creeks. A pond is a little bit easier to locate fish because the fish are restricted into a certain area. That's not the case on big major lakes like Kentucky Lake, like reservoirs, river impoundments, and whatnot throughout the United States. So this is your ordinary angler, and we hope you enjoyed this video. We hope you share the video, like, subscribe, comment, and my email is bassnut1@juno.com. Send me an email and I will check to make sure you liked, subscribed, and comment, and shoot me an email, and that way I can confirm who's on what, and we will give out one of those nice Zebco 33s to a young man and a young lady, and hope they have several enjoyable days of fishing. Now, may I also suggest that you subscribe and become a Bassmaster. Join BASS. Like I said, you get a nice magazine, Bassmaster. Anyhow, Bass membership, $25 a year. I mean, you know, you can't really beat it. And that is what you get when you become a BASS member. So I'm a life member. I'm a BASS life member. Been one for many, many years. So it's a good thing. Get it as a gift. As you can go online and bassmaster.com, and like I said, the ordinary angler is out there. You're the ordinary angler. You can become an ordinary angler like me, right? And have fun, because that's what fishing is, fun. You get outside. The fall is a beautiful time of year. It's not so hot. Get out, spend time with your family, go fishing, find a pond, get a couple chairs, let your young girl or boy enjoy the outdoors and catching fish. Because let me tell you, there's nothing like catching fish. It's so much fun, you'll do backflips. Anyway, so this is Mike Quattrone. Like and subscribe, you'll help me, and you'll get an opportunity for somebody to win one of those platinum Zebco 33s. No purchase necessary. Have a great and wonderful day. We're out.